All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you, as always. So, back here, back home, I feel well rested. So, after the long 13 and a half hour flight from China, so I'm good to go. I'm very, very excited to be back here, of course, and be with you. First of all, before I do anything, my apologies for the delay. Something came up that I had to make some changes because I didn't expect it. So I'm glad you guys didn't give up on me and left. So second thing, I want you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, because I'm using a different sound system here to make sure before I move an inch. I want to see a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. So I'll wait till I see a sign from you guys here. I know there's always a delay in in communication here through YouTube, but hopefully I will see a sign that you guys can hear me. YT, thumbs up. Thank you so much. So, Timeline Dunkley, good to see you. I saw you changed your screen image. So, Ahmavich Nash, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Truly, truly appreciate you here. So, all right. Today's topic, I will be talking about the BRICS, and I know I talked about some of it yesterday from an economic. Today, I'm going to tackle the geopolitical aspect. There is a much bigger picture into all this, and there are, of course, some developments that took place also while the summit was concluding, and I'll tackle on that one. In addition to some comments from some of you, like Hanging G. Good evening to you as well. Send some comments. I hope you guys get a chance to read the comments Hanging G puts out for the community. Very, very informative, factual, and it will be of benefit to everybody. So, but before I'll do all this, and I'm gonna go back to the comment section where I see everybody there. So I just want to say hi, Willie Holman, as always. Hanging G, as always. Good to see you guys here. Who else? Matt Backey, here you are. U2Z Super. Elisa Lewis, good to see you. Brianna Olivia, good to see you, as always. YT, good to see you. Hong Wan, good to see you. As always, Timeline Dunkley. Masian Dorsier, Truth Seeker. Ahmadovich Nash, good to see you. Johan Slan, good to see you here. Demji Ninja, good to see you as well. So, all right, guys, let's get into a topic because there's a lot I need to cover into all this. And of course, before I'll do this, I am going to be looking into what took place between Canada and India. I get an idea of why that is, but I don't assume. I'm going to delve deeper into this weekend, and probably will do a video for you next week. If it is about what I'm thinking about, I have a name of someone who is the head of the movement of Khalinistan in Canada, and I was asked if I'm interested in interviewing the gentleman there. So I haven't made a decision yet. I'll see and I'll go from there. Second thing is I'm going to be looking into Israel, Iran, the tensions that are growing and the preparations for whatever might happen next. I wrote a book about Iran. I tackled this aspect of the possibility of a war. So I'm going to be looking into that. I couldn't do it from when I was in China because the trip for China was for a different reason. So I wasn't going to do it from there. So now let's consider the summit, the 16th summit of BRICS that just concluded in Kazan, Russia. And like I mentioned in the title, from geopolitical concerns to border payments, all this is taking and anything in between. And this is where BRICS moving forward into that direction. And that also moves or paves the way for us to ask the key question: is now BRICS walking the talk per se? Is it moving from slogan to deeds? Is it going to be more relevant and making a dent in the international order? Those are relevant questions that we ought to ask. And I have some key questions. I'm going to share them with you on the screen here that I prepared yesterday when I was reading the final communique. I took a look at it. I have a link. I have some pages that I'm going to reference to because they are very, very important to understand. So here are some key questions just to ponder about. So, is BRICS at a point of no return? In other words, is BRICS now moving forward into the direction for which it was created? And that's something you guys need to really, really think hard about. And I will be glad if you could share your input in the chat box. So, and not only from an economic, but also from a political aspect. Second question, because what came out of this on the sideline? It was the meeting between India and China, which, by the way, I will do a detailed video about this agreement because there is more than meet the eye regarding this. So, but the question we need to ask is, can India and China really work out their border differences? Because it's a key. So, third question is, who got the most out of this summit? Because if any time you have some sort of an international gathering, there are always some winners for whatever reason, because that's part of the game when it comes down to geopolitics. It's the strategic interest, and we ought to ask that question over here as well. So, and this is what I'm going to be addressing in this analysis is the key, the takeaway key points. I'm not going to stress all of them. I think they are about, depends again where you get the PDF document. So if you put it in Microsoft Word, it will be about 42 pages. If you put it in a regular, it will be about 32 pages. So I had a chance to look at it, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of that. So, well, as we know, there were about 36 countries attended. Some reports here in the US mentioning there were 20 countries. The reports that I looked at mentioned 36 countries. And this, to me, you have to think the big picture. This one highlighting the US, the US, or the failure, that is, of the US led efforts to isolate Russia. Because it became clear now. When you get 36 countries going, as a matter of fact, to Russia, this is the largest foreign relations gathering ever. So, and because this to them is one of the highlights of the largest foreign policy events that ever been held in Russia. And that means a lot to them. But also, like I always say, guys, in international relations, context matters. The fact that you see, for example, and I have some pictures here that I am going to be sharing with you. If I think I have one. Yeah. The fact that you see, for example, the President Xi attended a summit with the Russian president one-on-one, bilateral one, that is. It's significant, in my opinion. It says a lot. So the West, of course, is going to minimize the impact of something like this. But we should not refrain from asking the key question. Is BRICS now finally moving from slogan into deeds? And of course, one of the key aspects of this summit was to challenge or find or develop an alternative sort of a channel or medium or ways, whatever you want to call it, to Western-dominated payment system. Because the financial aspect is the key. The US is already concerned about the role of the dollar, or the decline, that is, as it moves. Of course, what I'm saying is, doesn't mean the dollar is going to cease to exist tomorrow. That ain't going to happen. I'll tell you this right now. Second thing I can tell you is the US, my country, is not going to go down quietly about this particular. There are already preparation in the works in South China Sea. And that tells me right there where the next conflict is going to be. So now, one of the key aspects of this summit here, before I'll delve into the takeaway points, is that the three countries that attended, those are not attended, but rather the ones that applied formally: Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Malaysia. Very, very, very interesting. Now, when you think about especially Azerbaijan, and I've done some speaking engagements about that part of the world, just to highlight the importance of it, especially now when you consider the BRI. This is one of the reasons why we are ensuring the tensions persist regarding Nagorno-Karabakh between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It was for a reason. So I had a chance to read an analysis by, he's a PhD holder, by the name of Farhad Mamadov, and I will put the link for you guys. Very, very interesting arguments, and I couldn't agree more, and I'm going to share it with you here. And that's his analysis here. And I say, quote, at a time when international law is losing its value, spot on, well measured, its value, and is often interpreted very loosely, nation states endeavor to follow pragmatic policy based on a national interest. This casts a bright light on the discrepancy between the theory of international relations and reality. As you may know, in IR theories, there are the liberalism and realism, and I'm not going to get into that at this point here, but just to highlight to you, now there is this contradiction between what IR theories are all about and the reality of the ground. And this is exactly what this scholar is mentioning here. His argument continues, the global power centers are abandoning the ideological view on a foreign policy in favor of pragmatism and result. Like I always say, it's the result that matters. When you see, for example, China expanding its relations with other countries through economic incentives, what the economic incentive translates to the countries so they can benefit from, not through wars or conflicts. So, the economic and financial crises, the use of sanctions in international relations, and the weakening of integration increased the number of conflicts and wars and open interventions in the international affairs of state. In the internal affairs of states. This has shifted the focus on the objective perception of national interests by states that have become the objects of pressure, and the relations of these national interests to history, geography, economics, economic expediency, and the reality. End of quote. Spot on. I just couldn't agree more. So, and this is why I wanted to do this one here for you guys, and I'll provide you the link to highlight to you this importance of these aspects of it, because it's worth highlighting. I'm going to share a clip with you from the summit that I want you to take a listen here. It's about 2 minutes, but I might not play it all the way. So take a listen with me here, please. And let me share the screen. So funny, I haven't done this here for a while. I kind of forget what everything is. All right, let's start this one here, and I'm going to share it with you.
Vladimir Putin has met with multiple world leaders at a summit of the BRICS bloc of developing economies. Attended by the leaders of China, India, Turkey, and Iran, among others, Putin praised the summit's role as a counterbalance to what he called the West's, quote, perverse methods. With 36 countries represented, the summit highlighted the failure of U.S.-led
Переход к более справедливому мироустройству идет непросто. Его становление тормозят силы, привыкшие мыслить и действовать в логике доминирования над всем и вся. За ширмой навязываемого миру порядка, основанного на правилах, один из примеров этого – это Украина, которую используют и используют для создания критических угроз безопасности России, игнорируя при этом наши жизненные интересы, справедливые озабоченности ущемления прав русских.
China's President Xi Jinping emphasized the need to ensure global security, noting that China and Brazil have put forward a peace plan for Ukraine, one that Kyiv has already rejected.
我们要坚持战场不外溢、战事不升级、各方不攻火三原则，推动局势尽快缓和。
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also attended, which drew an angry reaction from Kyiv. He reiterated calls for peace in the Middle East and Ukraine.
Collectively, your countries represent nearly half of the world's population. And I salute your valuable commitment and support for multilateralism and international problem solving, as clearly reflected in your team this year.
The Kremlin touted the summit as, quote, the largest foreign policy event ever held by Russia.
All right, very, very interesting. And the reason I wanted to share this clip with you guys, just for you to hear different perspectives. Now, the fact that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres attended that, it gives it more legitimacy, right? Because now you start having now pundits and experts in Washington saying, maybe we miscategorized that now Russia is not as isolated as we thought of it. So The other thing, when you hear what President Xi stated about the importance of security, President Xi was hitting two birds with one stone, one regarding the Middle East and the other one regarding South China Sea. So, and I tell you, for my last visits to China, I kind of saw where things are, especially when I went to the province of Taiwan. There is a lot of things behind closed doors that Washington is preparing regarding the time. So when you hear President Xi mentioning about security, let alone it was President Xi and President of Brazil, what's his name? I drew a blank on his name. Anyway, he couldn't attend it because he fell on his head, so that's why he couldn't attend it. Anyway, they are proposing a peace plan for the Ukraine, right? The conflict. But we are already pushing back against it. And it tells you right there where the priorities is. And I'll get into all that later as I move forward. So now, let's tackle the key outcomes of the Kazakhstan declaration. Not each one of them. As I said, I will provide you the link of, if you want to read the 32 pages of the final communique. Like I always say, you read communique, it gives you a better understanding. So, and in my opinion, not only based on the reading of it, but also some other sources, is that the summit was productive in the path of strengthening this multilateralism approach, because the world has already shifted from a unipolar to a multipolar. Yeah, the US still there and so forth, but no. We all know where it's headed. Yeah, Washington usually does not. There's a saying we used to say back in my days when I was working in Washington. It still maybe holds, maybe not, because I don't know and I don't care, because I don't live there and I don't work there anymore. When Washington doesn't like the message, it tends to shoot the messenger. So Washington and Brussels and London and Paris and Berlin might all be playing that game of, oh, the world is not changing. We're still a unipolar, when in reality it is not. And because here is the thing of why this strengthening of the discussions regarding the summit in Kazan that just concluded yesterday emphasizes the aspects of the multilateralism, the promotion of economic growth, okay, and of course the concerns of the global South, which we have ignored completely. Look no further than Africa. Africa is a case in point. So, and like I mentioned, the 42, 43 pages included a lot of topics, from geopolitics to artificial intelligence to the preservation of healthcare and so forth. So I'm going to focus on two key aspects here. When you get a chance to read it, you look at page 15. In page 15, it says, and I quote, recalling the 2023 Johannesburg II Declaration, we reiterated our strong belief that multilateral cooperation is essential to limit the risks stemming from geopolitical and geo-economic fragmentation, and commit to intensify efforts in areas of mutual interest, including but not limited to trade, poverty, hunger reduction, and so forth. Fast forward to page 21, where it talks about the technology, the rapid technological advancements. And this one, it says, and I quote, recognizing that the rapid technological change, including the rapid advancements of AI, artificial intelligence, has the potential to bring new opportunities for socio-economic developments around the world. We encourage more international discussions about this. And the paragraph continues, but I'm going to stop right here, end of quote. So what's interesting about this, guys? First of all, the geopolitical one has to do with also what the BRICS was pushing regarding what's going on in the Middle East. They wanted to see a ceasefire because they are seeing the potential dangers that's going to, a conflict between Israel and Iran is going to go outside the borders of the Middle East. Make no mistake about it. The same arguments I've always made regarding the Taiwan Strait. It will not be confined to that geographical area. I am sure it ain't going to happen because Washington understands the ramifications. Out of all the 18 scenarios the Pentagon ran, and that was way back when I was still in DC, 17 out of 18, we lost the conflict against China. This is the Pentagon itself doing this one here. So I see the same argument for that one. For the technological aspect, the two things that I see is that the AI moving forward. Well, here is the key question that I would like to have your input into this. Who, in your opinion, end up controlling AI in the future? Can you just put in a word there out there? In your opinion, just think hypothetically. Who do you think will control AI in the future moving forward if we go forward with that? Let me just see what you guys type in. What do you have there? Because it's worth considering. To me, oh, Abel Magved, you look energized. Yeah, I rested enough. Now I'm good to go. So thank you for that comment, man. Here, Luca, good to see you as always. What do you guys think? Okay, Karakulak, you say China. Seng Tang, you say China. Mary Bhutan, you say China. Ivana, you say we should. When you say we, are we referring to we, the people? So Hang, you say AI future China. Okay, the people. I see your point. It's just what I wanted to highlight to you. It's the consideration of what we are seeing now with the big tech controlling. We look at it right here on this platform. Because they're controlling the platform, they can dictate. Will we have the same arguments regarding the AI? So, and here is where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the arguments of the Nobel laureate of this year, 2024, who warns about the exclusivity of the tech giants. That is where my concern. The economist, his name is Simon Johnson. I have a picture. I read up a little bit on him, and he's a British American, so he holds dual citizenship. So his argument is that stresses the need for less qualified people to benefit from artificial intelligence, which makes sense. This is why, to those who say maybe China will end up having to work for allowing average people to benefit from the AI, because if the tech giant controls it, we all know what the outcome is going to be. This is exactly what I witnessed in my recent trip to China. What did I witness? Is that the infrastructure that the government puts in for the benefit of the people, it didn't benefit just certain categories of companies or certain lobbyists or certain segment in a society, the wealthy, the rich, the well-to-do. No, it benefited the average Chinese citizen. And I was in the speed train, I was in the maglev. Everybody can afford it. It's affordable. So you think of it in that term from the AI. If China takes over that, which I don't foresee, by the way, what I do foresee is that the advancements for the computing. Now, remember, we do have some very, very advanced type of the AI advancements regarding quantum computing. Something you don't hear much about. It's very sensitive. It's classified. Is what I can tell you is very advanced. But this thinks about the big picture of if we allow the tech companies to control the AI, artificial intelligence, that is. And this is what this 2024 Nobel laureate in economics, Simon Johnson, argued. He's, by the way, a professor at MIT. So that's what it is. I will provide you also the link to that if you want to read this one. So now let's get back to our not this picture here. Sorry, I wanted to show you this one right here. For the BRICS Summit, and under the theme, because that's what it was, and just when you see what the wording, because these words are measured, but also sending a message, and that, just listen carefully, under the theme, in quote, strengthening multilateralism for just global developments and security, end of quote. Straightforward. You're looking at the economic aspects, you're looking at global security aspect as well. And this is where now For me personally, and again, I speak for myself here, I am seeing the concrete steps BRICS is taking moving forward. It becomes the question of how it's going to manage its internal dynamics. That is where I see one of the challenges. Second one, it will be challenges from outside. When you have elements or members or countries, whatever you want to call them, that's going to have to end up playing both, be on both sides of the fence. It's not going to bode well in a long term. On the other hand, you look at Turkey, a NATO member, like I always say, in international relations, context matters. The fact that a NATO member wanted to join BRICS speaks volume. How effective is going to be that membership is another conversation for another day. So now the thing is that this declaration of the summit, the BRICS Summit in Kazan, emphasized also the importance of BRICS solidarity and strategic partnership. All those are meaningful. Meaningful. Why is this? It's because he's sending a message. That is why, the reason why. He's sending a message that whether you, the West, collective West, like it or not, we're moving on. The world is moving on. And it's a fact of life. Change is happening whether we like it or not. It becomes just a question of how we deal with that change. Do we cooperate, which in my opinion will make perfect sense, a win-win for everybody? Or we get into more tensions to the point that we might end up creating a crisis that we won't be able to control. That is where one of the challenges that I foresee moving forward as BRICS move forward. So this is a picture, and by the way, I give credit to Maxim Shipankov. That's the picture where you give credit to. This is during the photo op for everybody. The same person who's credited with this picture, Maxim Shipankov. What's interesting about this picture, guys? Can you tell me in chat box? I mean, I'm sure you're observer. What can you tell me about that picture? That's the one you're looking at. What's interesting about it? Let me see. Muslim revert, indeed. Isn't that interesting? There is no way they coordinated that. It just happened naturally. The eyes also, yeah, but the hands. It's interesting how even a picture can tell you, like as we say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So. Now, the idea that, as I said, there were some countries want to join Turkey, Kazan, and Malaysia. Very, 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 very interesting into this aspect of it, especially in the case of Malaysia. Being part of ASEAN, it gives you an idea as to where ASEAN is also moving forward. I am hoping down the road, I'm going to be visiting some ASEAN countries because it is worth seeing also where they are headed, where they are moving, excuse me, where they are moving forward, especially when you consider the economic developments taking place in Thailand now, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and so forth. So, and when you read the statement like this one here, the leader stating, and I quote, "We reaffirm our commitment to the BRICS spirit of mutual respect and understanding, sovereign equality, solidarity, democracy, openness, inclusiveness, collaboration, and consensus." End of quote. Yeah, those are the key aspects of it. So, and I'm going to move into the key outcome, and I think I have about 3 or 4. Then I'll address the aspects of the meeting between presidency and Prime Minister Modi, and I'll answer some of your questions. So some of the keys that I found very interesting looking at the declaration, the communique, I picked up the geopolitical concerns. Why is this important? It's important because the summit didn't just focus on the economic aspect. It's also addressed the pressing international issues or conflicts. Of course, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, but also what's taking place in Gaza. And with the declaration, the BRICS declaration, emphasizing the need for peaceful resolution through diplomacy. It wasn't about sending peacekeepers. It wasn't about sending military units. No. It was about diplomacy and resolution. And this is the argument I've been making for a long time regarding India, China. That's why I always say, if India wants to prosper, it behooves it to sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk, or direct talk, or honest talk, whatever you want to term you use, with the Chinese, figure out that issue once for all, and jump on economic ventures. I mean, tell me, guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, won't India benefit if it has a high-speed rail in its territory? Economically speaking. So, common sense, right? So, now within this geopolitical concern, as part of the key outcome of the BRICS Summit in Kazan, Ukraine conflict came to the forefront, of course. Because, why is this important? Because all the leaders in the summit, when I say the leaders, not just the non-members as well, the 36 representatives of their countries, all of them reaffirmed the importance of adhering to the principles of United Nations Charter. It didn't say international law, because we use that term a lot. United Nations Charter, and welcomed mediation efforts. Well, as you know, China already proposed one last year. It was shut down because the US didn't want it. They wanted to drag the conflict. Now you have Brazil and China. Both of them are proposing peace resolutions. Some analysts in Washington were saying, and I read some of them from some major think tanks, and those think tanks are the backdoor of the US government. They're saying, oh, because China and Brazil saying this, that means that Russia is the one convinced them to say that, so because they want a peace. No, Russia said we'll continue the war if it needs to be. At this time, more than 700,000 Ukrainian soldiers were done for. What for? They died. What for? For a conflict that they don't even understand what it was for. That's almost the same arguments I could make when we went to Vietnam. And some soldiers even back then, including, you know who, the one who challenged the draft for, for the Vietnam. And his title was stripped from him. I'm giving you a hint here. Can you type in the chat box who was this individual? You give him a respect, man. You give him a respect. Let me see, guys, if you can get who I'm referring to here. Who refused to go to Vietnam. Let me see. GM, you got it. It was Muhammad Ali. And the argument was, what for? Those people didn't invade my country. Those people, meaning Vietnamese in this case, didn't attack my country. No. So why would I go and fight them for? And the same arguments can be made about these 700,000 souls that were lost, not knowing even what they're fighting for. So, and that's my point. And this is why you need to understand how this now the BRICS is moving into the direction where it will have an impact on the global stage, one way or another. So, and like I mentioned, the declaration quoted, and it says, "We note with appreciation relevant proposals of mediation and good offices aimed at peaceful resolution of the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy." End of quote. But we are undermining any effort from behind the scenes. This is why, for example, and I'll tie it to Asia, especially with Philippines. This is why behind closed doors we are pushing Philippines over the cliff. When I met some Filipino people in China, they were visiting China, and I asked them, "Where are you from?" They said Philippines, and I start chatting with them. I chat with people. That's just my personality. And they were just floored when I disclosed to them, what's going on behind the scenes, because they didn't even know. They don't even know that their government is taking orders from outside. Not even Marcos himself, Marcos Jr., can make a decision without the approval of the military establishment and Washington for that matter. The same arguments I make about the three other countries, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. It's just the idea of when you think about those proposals similar to this, you'll say to yourself, okay, well, why not? Why not allow a peace resolution to move forward? Negotiations initiated in this case by China, because it was last year, and now by China and Brazil. Why not? Why not give a chance, an opportunity? Ukrainian people are also human beings like you and I. They don't deserve whatever they are experiencing. But again, it's the idea that I had a chance to read an article by the former CIA director and Department of Defense chief, Robert Gates. And he was like, wait a minute, man, wait a minute. What are you talking about here? That was the Russia that caused the problem? That was now the Chinese that are causing the problem in South China Sea? Come on, man. You got to speak the truth. I have respect for Robert. I mean, I'm aware of him and I met him personally and so forth. But come on, man. I got to push against what is not right. You can't just keep the narrative alive through lies. That doesn't work that way. So, what's interesting about this geopolitical outcome that the BRICS highlighted as part of the key outcome of the declaration of BRICS also has to do with the concern BRICS had over the situation in Palestine. Why is this important? Because Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the PLA, Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, I'm sorry, not PLA. PLA is the China's military. He attended the summit. He was invited. As a matter of fact, I did read some analysis in the Middle East suggesting that Palestine needs to join BRICS. No. No, you can't let emotions dictate to you. We should just accept whomever. You look at the issues we have. BRICS has with India. Even India now is taking certain different posture regarding its rapprochement or partnership with Russia against the will of the West. But I do know better. I know better. That's just a facade. Because personally, I can't trust Mr. Modi. Because I've seen him over the last decade or so, the policies he embarked on and how he flipped in no time. This is one of the concerns I have regarding the agreement that they just reached with the Chinese regarding the border. I am putting a question mark. I won't jump into that. But regarding the situation in Palestine, the declaration of the BRICS stated, and I quote, "We reiterated our grave concern at the deterioration of the situation and humanitarian crisis in the occupied Palestinian territory, in particular the unprecedented escalation of violence in the Gaza Strip and West Bank," end of quote. You also, the post that I did on the community regarding the flow of armaments from different Western countries, 4,000 trips that took place to deliver the weapons, all coming from Europeans, the US, Canada. Yeah. To me, it's the hypocrisy at the highest order. That is so. And this aspects of the Palestinian crisis also falls within the bigger picture of the West Asia crisis or Middle East. That is so, because the summit or the declaration, that is, the leaders voiced also grave concern over the escalating humanitarian crisis in the Middle East, because there is one going on. You can't starve, a population to justify certain actions, and this is what the leaders of the BRICS Summit they declared. That's very, very, very important to understand. Now, you think about the role of governance and the multilateralism which BRICS pushes for, and this is where I feel BRICS now is at a phase where now it has really to what's the word I'm looking for? To really decipher what those policies are all about, and has to show that in action, because that's how you make a dent on the international stage. And one of the important aspects of the declaration that I found interesting, you might not find it interesting if you read the declaration, has to do with the global governance. And this one has to do with the role of G20. Okay, the summit underscored the importance of G20 in global decisions making. Well, why is this important? Because there are some members from the global south are part of the G20. We recognize, it says, and I quote, we recognize the importance of the continued and productive functioning of the G20 based on a consensus with a focus on result-oriented outcomes. End of quote. And the key of it all has to do with the financial architecture reform. That's what the declaration mentioned. And this one, of course, because the push is for replacing the dollar. Like I said earlier, ain't gonna happen tomorrow. Let's just be straightforward about it. You and I know this reality. Ain't gonna happen that way. Okay, it's gonna take time. But the mechanisms and the infrastructure that is now is being put in place, it's gonna take time for it. Because you're going to have to test all that to make sure the system operates properly. But so far, there is the bilateral agreements of trading in local currencies. Step in the right directions. So, and this one has to do with the BRICS nations reiterating their pledge. That's the key word right there, guys. All those leaders, the pledge now to improve the global governance. And this one has to do with being more agile, being responsive, being a representative of all. Meaning what? When you say representative of all, that means a multilateralism, meaning all countries are represented. And that's what multilateralism is all about. This is something the West is resisting. Mainly the US is resisting that. And this includes reform to international financial architecture and the promotion of inclusive growth. I found this last part, inclusive growth, very, very crucial. Why is this important? Because if you think about one geographical location that represents this one is Africa, right? You know, tell me what's been happening in Africa for the last 40 years. Nothing. So if you want for the investments coming, for example, from China into Africa, Mombasa will not be having this massive infrastructure that is built by the Chinese in coordination with the Kenyans. Because we have always ignored Africa. The British, the French, the Dutch, the Germans just took over the resources with it as well. So, and this is why you are seeing now Africa embarking in a different path. And that is part of why, of course, I am sure Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa pushing for that direction, and rightly so. It's from South Africa, it makes more sense. This is why that inclusive growth terminology came about. And this said, and I quote, "We reiterated the importance of further enhancing BRICS solidarity and cooperation based on mutual interests and key priorities and further strengthening our strategic partnership." So I just found it very, very interesting. The other aspect has to do with the financial, and I'll just address this one quickly and move on to another aspect. The other one has to do with the financial innovation. Because now the leaders of BRICS are encouraging new financial practices, and rightly so. Did you guys know, and I just found that out this morning while I was putting this stuff together, as far as organizing my thoughts, and I did the research yesterday, but I put everything together this morning. I just found out that now Pakistan is asking IMF for $1 billion. You know what for? Climate change. Just take a step back and think about it. Please, take a step back and think about it. Pakistan asking for a loan from IMF for $1 billion to address climate change. I can see the writing on the wall regarding corruption right there. Because the government in Pakistan, in Islamabad, is as corrupted as it gets. From Zardari to, you go way back. You go way back. I mean, even their military top brass, which we used to deal with them. We used to deal with the ISI. We used to deal with the head of the army, General Kayani, and so forth. You know, even the last one, I don't know if he's still there, General Bajwa. If anybody knows about the, if you only know the assets he has in England, come on, man. So, and this is what I'm saying, when you have to think in terms of why BRICS is pushing for a new financial practices and a mechanism by which, for example, what they are advocating for, the BRICS that is that they welcome now BRICS interbank cooperation mechanism. It's called ICM, interbank cooperation mechanism. And this one, its sole purpose is to facilitate and expand the innovation of financial practices. Another word, in a simple language, to find ways by which to ensure transactions between country A and country B within BRICS are as smooth, no issues there whatsoever, bypassing the SWIFT system. So, and this is why it's very, very important to understand those key outcomes that have a specific objective. They have specific orientation to them, because they are aiming at changing the structure of the international financial market. That is where the difference is. And I believe if BRICS, literally all the members, of course, we always have to put India in question mark, and I always do, and I don't shy away from saying this. Nothing against India. I want you guys to know, and if there are any individuals from India listening, I want you just to understand, nothing has to do with pointing fingers at India, whatever. I'm just pointing out the facts, because it's very important. And this is within this economic cooperation and the financial transactions with the local currencies. That's why it's important because anytime we think about this, we think about cross-border payment systems. And that is where I believe the declaration welcomed the use of local currencies in BRICS financial transactions and supported the exploration of an independent cross-border settlement infrastructure. Mind you, Saudi Arabia already decided to do the transactions with the Chinese in the yuan. So, and by the way, MBS didn't attend the summit. I know one of you guys, one of the channel subscriber, commented on that. Thank you for pointing that out, or ask the question, and I will answer it later on. So, and here is what BRICS said about this particular aspect. Quote, "We recognize the widespread benefit of faster, low-cost, more efficient, transparent, safe, and inclusive cross-border payment instruments built upon the principle of minimizing trade barriers and non-discriminatory access." End of quote. It's all clear, guys. It's all clear. There is no... to me, it's even when I had the paper that I brought it with me, by the way, guys, this is from China Daily, and I was reading it on my way to the airport just to read a few things. It became clear to me that they're gonna have, meaning BRICS collectively, they're gonna have to now what's the word? Put the dots on the letter per se when it comes down to the international system. They have to have an influence of sort that is visible to everybody, because you have now the entire global South in support of this. So, and think about even what you guys heard, that clip I did, what the UN Secretary General said about the consumer base in the BRICS bloc. Half of the world population is in that bloc. Doesn't take genius to figure out the rest. So now let me address briefly the meeting between India and China that took place. And as I said, I will do another live stream specifically for this one here. Well, we all know that Prime Minister Modi and President Xi met on the sideline of BRICS Summit, and I think it was on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So and this one, it followed the meeting followed an agreement earlier in the week between China and India regarding the patrol of the borders. So, because here is the thing. There was a military standoff. We all know that is. But you need to understand the origin, and I'm not going to get into the history yet. at this stage here for that, because I need more time to do that. But I wanted to answer some of your questions. What I wanted to say is that the border tensions works to our benefit. Yeah, Washington will want to have the tensions persist. It's the same argument that we always make about, oh, we're going to have to support Pakistan and India regarding Kashmir. And now you see in the US naval deployments into the South China Sea regarding the province of Taiwan. So I have a recording, by the way, which I will share with you later on. I don't have it right now uploaded here, with an individual inside Taiwan. He had a sign, big sign that says, President Cheater. And I said, what are you referring to here? He said, I'm referring to the former, I call her Governor Tsai, about her PhD. He had a flyer saying that her PhD is a fake. I said, funny you said that, because I have a document in my possession from LSE, I think London School of Economics, which said she got her PhD. And I have the document with the first page, but has no names of the committee members. Now, to those who know the process of PhD, when you are acquired a PhD, the name of the committee members will have to be listed there. Otherwise, how did you acquire the? And when I looked into that and didn't find a record for her, it was some sort of a thesis there, but it was no confirmation of the doctoral being awarded. There was no committee, there was nothing. And I realized, oh, this is a fraud. This is what we call academic fraud. It is an academic fraud if you call yourself a doctor when you have not earned the degree. So, and I know even some here in the US are doing this. So shame on them. You can't claim something you are not. So, but anyway, this is the idea of, and I'm going to do a detailed video for you about this agreement and spell out the details of it. But also I have my own reservations regarding India. I can't trust Prime Minister Modi of doing the right thing and honoring that one, because the pressure from from inside and outside India. And I know this for a fact, because that's how we operated back then when I was in DC. It was just pressure points. That's the way I see it. So now there are even some think tanks in Washington now saying, and I'm going to just summarize the conversation here about summit, and I'll move into your questions here. There are some in Washington recognizing that what is the Russian president trying to signal, and this will answer my earlier question as to who benefits the most from this summit. It was the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, because Putin's message, it was one of a defiance to the West. Yeah, we couldn't break him down economically. As a matter of fact, Russia is doing better economically today than it did prior to the start of the conflict. And this is what gets me the most, is what some analysts in the West, all of them converge on one particular assertion, is that it was Russia that started the conflict, when in reality, it's not true. That is not true. So, and even with the, and here is what I found very, very disturbing, sort of didn't make sense to me. After Russia launched its military into Ukraine, of course, the sanctions were imposed by Canada, the European Union, Japan, New Zealand, the province of Taiwan, the United Kingdom, and the US. Yeah. What I found very interesting is why the province of Taiwan will embark on something of this magnitude. What for? Unless it was pressured to do so. That I found very, very disturbing, to say the least. So, but the idea that we're trying to isolate Russia, no, we failed once again. And this is even now Washington think tanks are recognizing this. And the next question will be after this is, what's next for BRICS now? That it shows, for example, the desire of countries to join in. So, because Southeast Asian nations have expressed now interest into joining the BRICS. So it's going to be very, very interesting. This is one of the reasons also why my next Asia trip, I want to have a chance to visit both Indonesia and Malaysia, because I do see something coming up with those two countries into this direction. It just till you are on the ground, see with your own self, and assess by talking to some people and so forth before I make a conclusive conclusion, that is. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop right here, and I will answer some of your questions if you have any, and we'll just move on, go from there. I'm going to see if I'm going to do the monthly community conversation, but I'm also working on that surprise that I promised you, so I didn't forget. I have not reached out to Kazan yet because I just got here, and so it's kind of too soon. Usually I give him a heads up a week ahead of time, but we'll see. If it doesn't work this time, I'll do it the end of next month. So I'm gonna be here anyway. I'm not going anywhere. So, all right, let me take some of your questions, guys, and we just go from there. I'll start with this first one here since it is in front of me. Cheesecake 99. Question: what do you think about the ASEAN countries joining BRICS? It makes more sense to me, but again, I will question Philippines. Yeah. To me, it's the same idea, the same arguments I made regarding Egypt. And this, by the way, brings me to mention three things before I forget. Why the Saudi prince didn't go? Because he was the foreign minister. Why Prime Minister Modi didn't stay till the end? He left earlier. Hanging G shared this with me. Which thank you very much for doing that. I truly appreciate it. And it was the argument as to during the final plenary session, which was happening, that was yesterday, Modi, Prime Minister, you give him proper respect, because to me that's the right thing to do, even though I disagree with his policies 100%. Prime Minister Modi departed from Kazan the day before. So why did he skip the plenary session? Makes you just wonder. It's a good question, Hang. Thank you for sharing this one here. So if you have any idea as to why, guys, please share it with the community here. And the third one is it was the Saudi, the India, and Rajab Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey. He didn't leave despite the attack on one of the aerospace company inside Ankara, and I posted that for you guys. So it shows me also not that he doesn't care. Of course, it's his country; he ought to care. But it shows me also the importance he has now in joining BRICS, because the EU has been giving him a lip service for so long now. So that's the way I see why Southeast Asian nations will be very, very important to join BRICS. Question from OG 2. What are your thoughts about the presence of Antonio Guterres in BRICS? He looks so happy and eating like crazy. I didn't see him eating that. Now, on a serious note, because it gives now legitimacy on the international stage. You know, it doesn't have to be this big, whatever. It suffices just the head of the UN is being invited and reciprocated by attending the events. That's enough. This is why the West is so pissed at him now. Yeah, that's, to me, is the legitimacy of that particular attendance. It says a lot about this. Question from Ahmadovich Nash. Question: your take about Egypt and Ethiopia as well, conflicts between them, and they agreed about economy BRICS. Yes, to those who do not know, there are some tensions regarding some water issues, border, and so forth. And but Egypt, in my opinion, I would not extend the invitation to BRICS. Egypt also playing both sides, and the system is corrupted because we've been given billions of dollars from way back. Actually, from 1973, if I'm not mistaken, since the peace accord has been signed with Anwar Sadat. We've been giving them sort of a bribe, if you will. But that money doesn't end up being used to build infrastructure to benefit Egyptian people. It's the military, the high ranking, that's the one took advantage of it by putting the money in private bank accounts in Switzerland and Paris. I am aware of one particular case of the former president Hosni Mubarak and how much money he had and transferred by the time the regime was overthrown and so forth. So that's, in my opinion, why Egypt. But of course, I hope they can work out their differences there and so forth, and we'll see how it goes. John Lee, are you going to teach in China sometime next year? No, not next year. Nothing's been set. Remember, guys, what I found out is you can't just walk into a university in China. It's different than here. Here, campuses are open. I have to submit, and rightly so. It's their country. That's their protocol. I have to respect it, because to me, that's what I've always been when I travel to foreign countries. I observe the laws. That's one of the things that I do. I don't care what others say. I can't just, because I don't like that attitude of, oh, I'm an American, I just go and do whatever. No, you can't. And I won't. So what I found out is I have to file a form. I have to do a lot of stuff to get into the university. Second thing is I have to have a contact. Even if I do that first step, if I am to go, well, who I'm going to meet with, you can't just show up. You don't know how protocol is. This is why the last day when I was in Shanghai, it didn't work out for me I was expecting an email from someone regarding some contact. It didn't materialize. That's not the end of it. I do plan on going back to China at some point. And one of the key that I'm going to make is this issue of attending or having a visit at the university. I might even do both in Peking University and Fujian University in Shanghai. So that's so far the plan. So but teaching, yes, I am still planning on it. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And I have to have contacts and those. So if any of you guys know someone who is in academia over there and might be interested in a professor, I do have my credentials. I have my resume. I'll be happy to send the CV and so forth. And yes, if assuming we work out the details of the contract and so forth, then I will love to have that experience to teach in China. And I mean it. So it will be an honor and privilege to do so. All right, let me see another question from Timeline Dunkley. Do you think American government is going to think twice now not to sanction other countries now because other countries are moving away from the American dollar? No, the sanctions will still persist because it will be just what we call the slow death of the dollar. It's not going to be this abruptly the end of the dollar. It's going to be a slow death. And the problem is already here. And I am going to be going out and doing, now that I bought that stabilizer, so I will be doing some live stream for you from, not just for you guys, because I want you to know those videos are not just for you. Those are also for Americans here, for them to wake up and see where our country is headed, where it is. It's because the media is not disclosing the truth. And you know this, I'm not saying something new. You all know how it is. So I don't see that happening, Timeline Dunkley. We will still maintain the sanctions, but we're going to start to realize that the sanctions are not as effective as it used to be because other countries are moving away from the dollar. That's where it's going to be the challenge for Washington. So, okay, let me see another question. G. Gast, ICC prosecutor. Yes, I read this one this morning that he's now being accused of sexual harassment, misconduct. Yeah, that's usually one of the tricks in the books we do. So we're doing that one. We did it for, what's his name, Julian Assange, and yeah, that's the norm. So, which is not right, of course. Are you going to have to? Cho Feiyu, Doc, are you going to have a meeting with Jerry? I wasn't thinking about it, but yeah, I would love to do that. And I will. It was so nice to see them and meet with them and have shared dinner with them. And we went on a boat. Thanks to Fernando, and also have to thank Jerry for extending the dinner invitation for me. With their wives, and so it was very, very lovely to spend that time and meet with them face to face, and I truly enjoyed it. The same was with Ray. The same with Charles in Hong Kong. What a surprise it was. I was just walking through the mall, and all of a sudden this person walking towards me. So it just meant a lot to me, to the point now I am thinking, and I'm just thinking, and I will share this with you in detail later on as I move forward. I am thinking of organizing literally a physical meet and greet, and I have to figure out the logistics of it. So when that time comes, I will share that with you. So, all right, let me do one last question here, and I'm gonna move on to work on some other stories for you for next week. Okay, let me see another. If there are a lot of you. Hi, a lot of you commenting here, and which I appreciate, and thank you for keeping this civil. By the way, guys, hit the like button and also subscribe. I need to raise. I need to cross over the 100,000 within next month, if I could. So I would greatly appreciate if you could please share this video. Just ask your loved ones, your friends, whatever, to subscribe to the channel. I noticed YouTube is slowing this down. Why? I don't know, but I might have an idea. So I would greatly appreciate if you guys can do that. All right, let me see. Dave H. Oh, I'm sorry. Where is it? Right there. Dave H. Will the Philippines get thrown out of the ASEAN? No, it won't. Philippines was also a founding members. Because I do not know the detail of their protocol. The same arguments I can make about BRICS. Will India be kicked out? No. So, and I think it should be a clause into their documents that will allow for something like that. If a country is not adding is not providing any assets to the organization, it's like a dead weight. If somebody is dead weight, you got to get rid of that. It's like in a military unit, you can have a member of the unit that is dragging the unit down. If you can't perform, you're out. Simple as that. So that's the way I see it. So the other thing you have to consider is that for ASEAN is an internal, no other countries can intervene in its own internal dynamics. So that's just the way I see it. Guys, I hope you find this very interesting. I always love to be here with you guys. I enjoyed it. And I'm going to decide this afternoon how to do, whether I'll do the monthly community conversation and also work on some stories for you and just go from there. So, as always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.